The rhythmic scratch of the quill against parchment is the only thing keeping me from screaming. Here in the sunless bowels of the Ravenpeak archives, I am a ghost in a lead-lined collar, a proud Omega forced to play the part of a broken beta servant just to keep my head on my shoulders. Every breath is a reminder of the poison chafing against my throat, the heavy metal that masks my scent but slowly kills my skin. I tell myself to stay small, to stay invisible, because in this pack, to be noticed is to be dead. 5 years ago, I watched the Alpha King, Constantine Ravenfang, drag my sister Bellatrix to her execution, and I've spent every second since cataloging the records of the fallen while mourning my own soul. But today, the heavy iron doors groan open, and a blast of cold mountain air carries a scent I haven't felt in a lifetime: ozone, cedar, and the presence of the man who destroyed my world. As his heavy boots echo closer, my mentor's whisper is a death sentence. Don't look at his eyes, Genevieve. If he sees the shape of your soul, no one can save you. If this story of hidden strength and the weight of the truth moves you, please consider joining our community by hitting the subscribe button. Crafting these deep dives into the lives of the forgotten takes weeks of research and writing, and your presence here is the only reason I can keep these voices alive. It takes but a moment for you, but it truly means the world to my work. The oil in the brass lamp flickers, casting long, dancing shadows against the walls of the archive. My arm aches from the weight, but I dare not tremble. Standing inches from Constantine Ravenfang is like standing at the edge of a jagged cliff during a storm. The air around him is charged, heavy with the scent of ozone and the deep, earthy tang of cedar. He is a wall of scarred leather and cold muscle, his presence so vast it seems to suck the oxygen from the cramped aisle. He doesn't look at me. To him, I am just a shadow with a light source, a nameless beta drudge whose only purpose is to illuminate the dusty treaties he is here to audit. I keep my chin tucked, eyes fixed on his heavy, black furred boots, and pray that the lead-lined collar around my neck holds. It is a suffocating weight, the metal biting into my skin, poisoning me slowly, but it is the only thing keeping the wildfire of my Omega scent contained. The treaty from the 14th cycle, Constantine says. His voice is a low, tectonic rumble that vibrates through the stone floor and straight into my chest. Orion said it was catalogued here. I don't trust my voice, so I simply reach for the high shelf, the lamp swaying in my left hand. I can feel his gaze now, not a look, but a pressure, a predator tracking the slightest movement of its prey. As I pull a brittle scroll from its slot, Constantine reaches out to take it. It's a momentary lapse, a fraction of an inch of miscalculation. His knuckles brush against the back of my hand. The contact is cataclysmic. An electric shock, violent and hot, surges up my arm, bypassing my nerves and striking directly at my heart. My pulse spikes with such savage force that the air in my lungs vanishes. I hear a sharp, metallic ping, the sound of the buckle on my lead collar, worn thin by 5 years of sweat and friction, finally surrendering to the strain. The silence that follows is terrifying. The heavy leather strap slumps from my throat, hitting the floor with a dull thud. In an instant, the archive is gone. The smell of dust and old parchment is obliterated by a scent that hasn't existed in the Ravenpeak pack for half a decade, a sweet, wild, and intoxicating bloom of Omega pheromones. It hits the air like a physical explosion. I see Constantine's body go rigid, his shoulders locking with inhuman speed. He drops the scroll, and for a heartbeat, the only sound is the frantic thudding of 2 hearts becoming one. Then, the mate bond slams into us. It isn't the gentle recognition the storybooks promise. It is a chain of liquid fire wrapping around my ribs and tightening until I can't breathe. My knees buckle, the brass lamp clattering to the stones and spilling oil that catches the light in a pool of gold. I hit the floor hard, gasping, my skin feeling 3 sizes too small for the heat rising in my veins. Across from me, the Alpha King is on his knees, his hands clawing at the stone as if trying to anchor himself to a world that has just tilted sideways. He looks up, his gray eyes blown wide, the pupils swallowing the iris until they are nothing but voids of shock. The hood of my tunic has fallen back, exposing my face to the amber light of the spilled oil. His breath hitches, a jagged, broken sound that rattles in his throat. He reaches out, his fingers trembling, moving toward my jaw as if I am a ghost that might vanish if he breathes too hard. "Bellatrix," he whispers, his voice fractured with a grief so raw it sounds like a wound opening. The name strikes me harder than the fall. Rage, cold and sharp, cuts through the haze of the bond. I stare at him, the man who ordered my sister's execution, the man who stood by as the Ravenfang guards dragged her screaming into the night. My heart screams in protest against the pull of his soul. How dare he? How dare he mourn the woman he murdered? How dare he look at my face and see nothing but the shadow of the girl he failed to protect? I want to claw the name from his lips. I am not a memory. I am the truth he buried, and the bond tying us together feels less like a gift and more like a noose. Constantine is paralyzed, a king reduced to a broken man kneeling in a pool of spilled oil. The mate bond is a physical weight, a golden tether that pulses with every erratic thud of his heart, but I cannot afford to be trapped by it. If I stay here, if I let him touch me, the Ravenpeak guards will be upon us before the oil fire dies out. I scramble backward, my hands scraping the grit of the stone floor. To Constantine, this is a miracle. To me, it is a diversion. I ignore the agonizing pull in my chest that screams for me to crawl into his arms and instead lunged for the High Alpha's private desk. Maximus Wildborn is a man of meticulous cruelty, and I know he keeps a ledger of unaccounted tributes, the wolves he considers his personal property. The bond flares, a warning cry in my blood, as Constantine finds his voice. Bellatrix, stay. Please. I am not her, I hiss, my fingers frantically dancing over the hidden latch of the desk's false bottom. You made sure of that 5 years ago. The drawer clicks open. I snatch the heavy, obsidian-bound ledger, tucking it beneath my tunic just as the first silver flash strikes. It starts at the periphery of my vision, a jagged, shimmering fracture in reality. My hands begin to vibrate, a fine, uncontrollable tremor that has nothing to do with fear and everything to do with the poison in my lineage. It is the blight of the silver moon. The same tremors that started in Bellatrix weeks before she was taken. I am a ticking time bomb, and the countdown has officially begun. I dive behind a row of towering shelves, the darkness swallowing me as I rip the ledger open. My eyes scan the cramped, elegant script of a madman. I expect to find records of her burial or the costs of her execution. Instead, I find a ledger of maintenance. Patient 001. Location: the Soul Cage, Sector 4. Status: stable. Memory drain successful. Cognition: null. The world tilts. The air in the archives grows cold enough to crack bone. Bellatrix wasn't executed. She wasn't given the mercy of a quick death. Maximus and the council have been keeping her in a state of living death, a lobotomized shell used as a battery for their essence-leeching rituals. And the notes in the margin written in a different, hurried hand reveal the ultimate betrayal. The council had presented Constantine with a choice: allow them to treat her in secret, or watch her be publicly executed as a mad dog. Constantine chose the lie. He chose the crown over the girl, the silence over the struggle. He let the world believe he was a cold-blooded executioner because he was too much of a coward to admit his Luna was broken. A shadow falls over the page. Constantine stands at the end of the aisle, his face pale, his silver eyes fixed on the ledger in my shaking hands. He doesn't move to take it. He looks like a man standing before a firing squad. "You knew," I whisper, the words tasting like ash. "You knew she was alive. You knew what they were doing to her." "I was trying to protect the pack's stability," he says, his voice a jagged shadow of its former authority. An alpha king with a mad mate, the council would have moved to depose me. There would have been civil war. I thought if they kept her safe, I could find a cure. Safe! I scream, the silver flashes in my vision growing brighter, more violent. I hold up my trembling hands, the fingers twitching in a rhythmic, terrifying dance. Look at me, Constantine. Look at what is coming for me. You didn't protect her. You hid her because you were ashamed. You traded her soul for a throne made of secrets. He takes a step forward, his hand outstretched, but I recoil as if he's a leper. The injustice of it burns hotter than the mate bond. He is mourning a woman he helped destroy, and now he is looking at me with the same hollow hope, ready to start the cycle of shame all over again. I won't let them do it to you, he vows, but the words are empty. They are the words of a man who has already failed once. Genevieve, I will win you back. I will fix this. You can't fix a soul that's been drained, I say, my voice dropping to a deadly, cold calm as the tremors travel up my arms. And you won't get the chance to hide me. I am going to the soul cage, and I am bringing my sister home. With or without your help. The mate bond pulses one last time, a heavy, grieving thrum, as I turn my back on the king who chose his crown over his heart. Do you think Constantine deserves a second chance, or is his cowardice unforgivable? Vote with redeem or reject in the comments. The descent into the soul cage facility is a journey through a nightmare carved in stone. Orion leads the way, his lantern shuddered to a mere sliver of light, his breath hitching as we navigate the damp, lightless tunnels beneath the archives. The air here doesn't just feel cold, it feels hollowed out, as if the very walls have been trained to absorb hope. We pass iron-reinforced grates where the sound of rhythmic, low-frequency humming vibrates in my teeth. Orion stops, pointing toward a series of glowing silver conduits running along the ceiling. The memory-draining conduits, he whispers, his eyes full of a deep, ancient fear. They use the moon's reflection in mercury pools to pull the essence from the mind. It's not just forgetting, Genevieve. It's the erasure of the self. We reach the heavy obsidian doors of Sector 4. The tremors in my hands are becoming harder to hide, the silver flashes dancing at the edge of my vision like mocking ghosts. I press the ledger's stolen seal into the lock, and the stone groans open. The chamber beyond is a cathedral of cruelty. In the center, suspended in a cage of silver wire and pulsing mercury, is a figure that stops my heart. I don't run. I can't. My legs feel like lead as I approach the cage. Bellatrix is there, but she is a ruin. Her copper hair, once a vibrant mane that matched my own, is thin and dull. Her skin is a map of ritual scars, etched symbols that glow with a faint, sickly light, marking the points where the essence leech is attached. But it's her eyes that break me. They are open, amber and wide, but they are vacant. There is no spark, no recognition, not even the mercy of pain. She is looking at me, and she sees absolutely nothing. Aura, I whisper, my voice cracking in the tomb-like silence. I reach through the silver wires, my trembling hand cupping her hollow cheek. Her skin is cold, like parchment left in the rain. I'm here. I'm going to get you out. She doesn't blink. She doesn't even breathe in rhythm with my words. She is a statue of the sister I loved, a masterpiece of the Council's depravity. A touching reunion, a voice ripples from the shadows, smooth and cold as a serpent over silk. High Alpha Maximus Wildborn steps into the light, his eyes glowing with a predatory, unnatural hunger. Flanking him are Lucian Deathwhisper, his face a mask of ambitious disdain, and Brutus Ireclaw, the massive enforcer whose hands are still stained with the metaphorical blood of my family. Maximus looks at me, then at Bellatrix, a thin, satisfied smile curling his lips. You look so much like her, Genevieve. It's almost a waste to call you so soon. But your sister is nearly spent. The blight made her essence volatile, yes, but so very potent. You're feeding on her, I say, the realization hitting me like a physical blow. The essence leeching wasn't just a punishment. You're an essence leech. You're using our blood to cheat death. Immortality has a high price, Omega, Maximus replies, stepping closer. Brutus shifts, his hand resting on the hilt of a jagged silver blade designed for ritual slaughter. Bellatrix has kept me young for 5 years. But the silver moon is demanding its toll. She is fading, and you're a fresh vessel. A mirror image with a mirror soul. He reaches out, his fingers hovering inches from my throat. I can feel the parasitic hunger radiating from him, a void that wants to swallow everything I am. Behind him, Lucian checks a silver pocket watch, as if our lives are merely an appointment on a busy schedule. The king is weak, Maximus sneers, his gaze flicking to the door as if expecting Constantine to appear. He spent 5 years weeping over a ghost while I grew stronger on her life force. Now I will have you both. Brutus, prepare the altar. We shall cull the newcomer before the sisters' eyes. Let the last thing Bellatrix forgets be the sight of her twin's end. Brutus steps forward, the heavy rasp of his blade leaving its sheath echoing against the obsidian walls. My hands shake violently now, the silver flashes turning my vision into a fractured mosaic of light. I am trapped between a dead sister and a living monster, and the countdown in my blood has finally reached 0. The obsidian doors explode inward in a hail of stone and splintered wood. Constantine Ravenfang charges through the dust, his black fur cloak billowing like the wings of a vengeful god. His broadsword is a blur of silver, clashing against Brutus Ironclaw's blade with a force that sends sparks flying into the mercury pools. But even as he fights, I see the truth. He is outnumbered, and Maximus is already drawing a jagged sacrificial dagger, his eyes locked on my throat. The soul cage is reinforced with silver dampeners. No physical strength can shatter it before Maximus finishes the cull. Constantine. I scream over the roar of the battle. He kicks Brutus back, his chest heaving, his eyes finding mine through the chaos. He sees the despair in my face, and for the first time, he sees the tremors in my hands. I realize then that we cannot win this as a king and a servant. We can only win this as mates. The soul cage thrives on the void of a broken soul, and the only thing powerful enough to overload the silver conduits is the raw, unfiltered surge of a completed alpha-omega bond. Mark me. I shout, grabbing the silver wires of the cage, the metal searing my palms. It's the only way to break the cycle. Constantine, mark me now. Constantine hesitates for a heartbeat, the memory of his failure with Bellatrix flashing in his eyes. Genevieve, the blight, it will lock the bond to your madness. Let it. I roar, my vision fracturing into 1,000 silver shards. Mark me or watch us both die. He lunges, bypassing Maximus's guard. His arms wrap around me through the wires, his presence a mountain of heat against the cold stone. He doesn't hesitate a second time. His teeth sink into the curve of my neck, marking the scent gland with a proprietary, savage claim. The world ceases to exist. A supernova of gold and crimson light erupts within my chest, the mate bond completing with a violent, agonizing beauty. The surge of power is so immense that the silver conduits of the soul cage begin to glow white-hot, then shatter into 1,000,000 glass needles. The mercury pools overflow, hissing as they touch the floor. But I don't stop there. Using the raw conduit of the bond, I reach into the empty space of Bellatrix's mind. I feel the twin tether, the ancient blood link that the council tried to drain. I don't just reach for her, I pull. I pull the static, the gray fog, and the jagged shards of the silver blight out of her psyche and into my own. It is a spiritual transfusion of agony. Bellatrix gasps, her vacant eyes suddenly dilating as color floods back into her pupils. She blinks, the light of recognition returning for the first time in 5 years. Jen, she whispers, her voice a fragile miracle. Simultaneously, my own mind fractures. The silver blight, now doubled in intensity, turns my vision into a swirling storm of mercury. My veins glow with a pale, lunar light. I am falling into the madness, but I am not drowning. I am riding it. This is controlled feral madness, a state of being where instinct and rage become a singular, sharpened blade. I turn toward the council, my hair flowing like copper smoke, my eyes glowing a terrifying, luminescent silver. Maximus backs away, his face aging in real time as the soul cage connection to his immortality is severed. He looks like a withered husk, his skin sagging, his power evaporating into the cold air. Brutus, I say. My voice isn't my own. It is the voice of every wolf the council ever leashed, amplified by the Alpha King's bond. Brutus Ireclaw stops mid-swing. He stares at me, his eyes glazing over as the command of a feral Luna hits his primitive instincts like a hammer. He cannot resist. No wolf can resist a Luna who has embraced the madness of the moon. The ones who fed on us I command, pointing a trembling, glowing hand at Maximus and Lucian. The ones who turned our pack into a graveyard, tear them down. Brutus doesn't speak. He turns with the slow, inevitable grace of an executioner. Maximus screams, a high, thin sound of a man who realized too late that he is mortal. Lucian tries to bolt for the door, but the enforcer's hand closes around his throat. The payoff is a symphony of justice. The council leaders are dragged into the shadows by the very man they used to enforce their tyranny. The essence supply is gone, and as Maximus falls, the unnatural light in his eyes flickers out, leaving behind nothing but the dust of 1,000 stolen lives. I collapse into Constantine's arms, the silver fire in my blood beginning to cool into a dull, manageable ache. Bellatrix is on the floor beside us, breathing, living, and for the first time in 5 years, truly free. The soul cage is a ruin of twisted silver, and as the madness settles into the corners of my mind, I know the war is over, even if the battle for my own sanity has just begun. The shadows of the soul cage facility are a memory, replaced by the soft, amber glow of the mountain sunset. In the weeks that followed the collapse of the council, the silence in the Ravenpeak pack has shifted from one of fear to one of recovery. Bellatrix sits in the castle gardens, her hands no longer bound by silver, but busy with the simple rhythm of weaving wildflowers. The light has returned to her eyes, though she moves with a fragile grace. She is no longer a ghost. She is a woman relearning the sound of her own name. I watch her from the balcony, the silver flashes in my vision now reduced to occasional flickers, like distant lightning. I am the monitored Luna, a title that would have once signaled my exile. Now it is a testament to a new era. I live with the blight, the tremors in my hands a constant companion, but I no longer face the darkness alone. Constantine steps up behind me, his heavy hand resting on my shoulder. There is no crown upon his head. In a move that stunned the northern territories, he abdicated his absolute rule, handing the governance of the pack to a council of healers and elders. He chose to be a protector rather than a tyrant, a man who would rather win back his soul than keep a throne built on secrets. The healers say the new moon rituals are showing promise, he murmurs, his thumb tracing the mark on my neck. Your mind is strong, Genevieve. Stronger than the madness. We are two halves of a whole, I reply, leaning back into his heat. Bellatrix and I. The broken and the scarred. We aren't hiding anymore. Together, we walk down to the gardens, joining my sister. We begin the climb to the highest peak of Ravenpeak, a path that was once forbidden to those deemed lesser. We reach the summit just as the sun dips below the horizon, bathing the world in gold. I reach up and touch my bare throat. There is no lead color. There are no suppressed scents. I am an Omega, I am a Luna, and I am a Hawthorn.